My name is Nikhil Karwa and I am a practicing company secretary from Pune. Recently, many members have been facing a problem in understanding what are the continuous professional education, that is CPE guidelines of ICSI, and what are the structured hours and what is its applicability. So in this short video, I have tried to compile all the queries which I have personally faced and received from certain members and colleagues. So in order to understand, please watch this video till the end and give me your feedbacks on the same. So let us first start with what is the objective of these guidelines and what is its applicability. So if you refer the ICSI CPE Guidelines 2019, so in it the institute has clearly mentioned that the guidelines have been formed with the purpose of updating the knowledge of each and every member and upgrading them with the necessary skills required in order to sustain in this dynamic industry which is changing each and every day. These guidelines have come into effect from 1st April 2020 and it is applicable to each and every member irrespective of the fact that whether he is into employment or into practice. So even though there are certain exemptions which the institute has provided, which is as follows: any member who has attained the age of 60 years and is neither into practice nor into employment under CS profession is completely exempt from these guidelines. However, any member who has attained the age of 60 years but he is into CS profession or he is holding certificate of practice is exempt with the 50% of complying with these guidelines, and the requirement, or you can say the exemption which is granted for 50% shall begin from the succeeding year to the year in which he has attained the age of 50 years. Another important point: any member who has received his membership number in the current year, then for that respective year he is not required to comply with the credit hours guidelines. That is, for example, any member has received his membership number in the year 2021-2022, then for this year he is not required to comply with the CPE guidelines. Then any member of the parliament, judiciary, legislative assembly, legislative council, paramilitary forces or military forces, or any employees in the government entities, not being corporate entities, are exempt from these guidelines. Any other member which the professional development committee of the council may deem fit to grant such exemption on the basis of following grounds, that is maternity or paternity leave, accident or medical emergencies, disability, or any other ground as the professional development committee may deem fit. Any member holding multiple qualifications from any sister professional institutes, for example Chartered Accountants Institute, and he is also required to undergo the credit hour guidelines from those institutes, then in this case, if he has complied with the requirement over there, the institute will consider it as compliance of the requirement under ICSI guidelines. However, in all these scenarios, the individual claiming the exemption has to submit an undertaking along with documentary evidence at the time of either claiming the exemption or at the time of renewal of membership on annual basis. And only after providing these documents he will be granted the necessary exemption. So I hope we are clear with the applicability and exemption part. Now let us move ahead with the part where the period is prescribed and how many number of hours an individual has to complete within that period. So as per the ICSI guidelines, period is considered as a period of 12 months, which is 1 year starting from 1st April and ending on 31st March. In certain exceptional circumstances such as COVID or any other case where the institute deems fit, the period of 12 months can be extended to a period of 15 months. So in this 12 months or 15 months, an individual has to undergo by completing the credit hours, that is 20 credit hours, in the form of either structured credit hours or unstructured credit hours. The next question in your mind must be that what are structured credit hours and what are unstructured credit hours, and how many credit hours are to be obtained in the form of structured and how many credit hours are to be obtained in the form of unstructured hours. So let us first understand what is structured credit hours. Any advanced learning program has been defined in the ICSI guidelines, attended by the member either virtually or physically, and for which the institute is awarding the credit hours in the form of structured credit hours, is known as structured credit hours. Second one, unstructured credit hours. In case of any individual member undertaking any learning activities as mentioned in the guidelines, for which the hours awarded by the institute shall be unstructured, is known as unstructured credit hours. Minimum and maximum requirement of the number of hours to be obtained either through structured or unstructured hours is as follows. In case of structured credit hours, the institute has provided that every individual has to mandatorily comply with minimum number of 8 credit hours in the form of structured credit hours. And on the contrary, in case of unstructured credit hours, an individual can obtain unstructured credit hours maximum to a limit of 12 hours, out of which 8 hours can be obtained either through webinars or virtual modes or any other modes as prescribed in the guidelines, and the remaining 4 hours are to be obtained through any other mode which has been specifically mentioned in the ICSI guidelines. So now let us consider what will be the possible scenarios and which scenarios will be considered as compliance and non-compliance of these guidelines. So let us take the first example, where an individual has completed the minimum requirement of 8 structured hours, the maximum requirement of 12 unstructured hours, 8 through webinars and 4 through other modes. In this case, the individual will be considered as he has complied with the requirements. Second scenario, where an individual has completed all his credit hours in the form of structured credit hours. Then in this case, whether he will be considered as he has complied with the guidelines, the answer is yes, because the institute has clearly stated only the minimum number of hours which are to be obtained through structured hours. There is no maximum cap limit, so it can be considered that structured hours can substitute unstructured credit hours. Now let us take the third example, where an individual has completed all his credit hours in the form of unstructured credit hours. So in this case, whether he will be considered as he has complied with the requirement, the answer is no, because the institute has clearly mentioned that only 12 number of hours can be obtained in the form of unstructured credit hours, out of which 8 are through webinar and 4 are through other mode. So the next question which every individual must think upon is what will happen to the extra 8 hours which an individual has undergone through unstructured credit mode. Then in that case, these hours will neither be counted in the total of 20, neither they will be carried forward for the next year, nor they will be set off against any hours. And the individual will still have to mandatorily comply with the requirement of 8 structured hours. So I hope with these 3 examples, each and every doubt of yours has been cleared. Now, one of the biggest questions is, what is the consequence of non-compliance of these guidelines? So as per the ICSI guidelines, currently it has been stated that the council may proceed with disciplinary actions for violation of Company Secretaries Act, Company Secretaries Regulations or the Code of Conduct as may be prescribed by ICSI. No further penalties have been determined as of now. In case of any further updates, I will keep you posted on that. And with this, I hope that each and every point have been covered as per the guidelines on the basis of my understanding. And the institute is definitely the right authority to clear us on each and every points with regard to these guidelines. In case of queries, you can still reach me out, whether through email or mobile or messages. And I thank each and everyone for patiently listening to this video and being there till the end. Thank you so much.